Today is definitely an odd job day. There's loads to do. Everyone knows that May and June are those chaotic months of getting everything in and everything out of the beds. I've had a few deaths, you know. I came over yesterday and I thought, I forgot to open the greenhouse and the Swedes had wilted, but I gave them a good water and it looks like 80% of them is back. But last night when I came over I thought they're doomed, like they were literally cremated, but for some reason someone's on my side and they're looking okay-ish. So I got loads to do. Beans are going out. I need to sort the bed out. I need to try and sort out some swede and re-sow some swede just in case. Still plenty of time. I could direct sow them as well, but I'm still going to do modules just in case because I love swede. There's loads to do. Let's just get it done. So I've got these baskets and I'm going to layer them with some good compost and some petunias and lobelia. So there's trailing lobelia for the outside and then I'll have petunias hanging over the outside. So, right, let's make these magical. So normally I just plant the plug plants out before they've even flowered and just let the pattern emerge itself. But this year I let them go on a little bit so I can work out what are the colours that I need. So the trailing lobelia is all blue, so that's fine. So the trick is that they've got these little windows on the side. Pop it out, put the plant in and drop it back in. So then I'll layer it back up again then. So that it's covered. Leave about an inch on the top because you don't want the water to just keep falling over. And now we'll add them in. Don't place them exactly where that hole is. Place them over the side a bit so they don't have to compete with the light. Now you can put something in the middle, you know, like a begonia or a fuchsia or something, but I'm just going to put an extra one of these in, maybe even two, because I've got plenty of them. Let's do the other one, then we'll hang it up. There you go, and there we have it. So we have some petunias and then some petunia lobelia here. So I'm sure that'll give it a nice flush of colour at the bottom of the plot. So there are a few reasons why I put petunias on the chicken coop and not lobelia. One, lobelia is highly toxic for chickens and their coordination goes out the window and they're really sick from them. So don't put lobelia anywhere near chickens. Petunias on the other hand, they look lovely. They'll hang down and give them a bit of shade in the hot sun. And also they actually don't mind eating them. And because they sit in this top end of the coop over here, the petunias will all hang down and they might, pop their beaks through and nibble them, and I don't want them to be harmed. So the reason I've only put petunias there is because they're all safe for chickens, and I'm sure they look lovely on the coop as well. So I think my next task is going to be the strawberry bed, which I have, planted all up nice, and it's laden with strawberries. There's so many in here, but I think I just need to give it a good weed, and then I'm going to put some straw down to keep the strawberries off the soil, because when it gets wet you don't want it to rot. Plus it'll help keep the slug attacks away. Right, let's get that done. So the one thing I'm going to do as well is I'm going to take off all the runners. You want to focus the growth on the plant fruit this year, and later on in the year maybe I'll let some runners go so that I can get some extra plants. But for now, you don't want them creating babies, you want them creating fruit. I tell you what, the amount of strawberries around here. Last year they were first year strawberries, and I only had a couple of handfuls of strawberries. But this year, they're juicy big strawberries, and I'm looking forward to the harvest. So I think what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to put all the runner beans in. A bit of a poor germination again, but at least, you know, I've got at least 1 or 2 for each station, so let's get them in. So I think what I'm going to do now is, now I put all the runner beans in, I think I'm going to use this straw and just like I did with the strawberries, put some down just to try and protect them from the slugs, because as you know, when they're this small, the slugs just keep attacking them, like, you know, like they have with these ones here. But once they get up the canes like this, they're a lot safer and they'll just do their job. So an interesting fact about the runner beans that I just think is fascinating is that runner beans always run anti-clockwise on this hemisphere, like so. And in Australia, on the other side of the world, they grow that way. Just like when you pull the flush. Have a check out your runner beans, I bet you they grow this way. Unless you're in Australia. So I've added some straw now on the top. Hopefully that'll deter some of the slug attacks. So another job done, succumb to rust. And sadly today I'm gonna have to pull all this garlic. The only ones that haven't been affected is at the top, which was all the giant variations. But look, I pulled a few to test and they're just tiny, they're just not bulbing now because the rust, once the rust hits, they're gone. I'll have a small harvest, and what I do get from you know, I can eat, I'll just have to blend up. And yeah, I am absolutely gutted about the garlic though, because every year there's something, and this year I was like, right, I'm planting it on the right date, I'm feeding it properly, I'm watering it properly, and it's just one of those things, nature will always knock something off you, and there's always next year. It just means that next year I won't plant it in this bed where the rust was, I'll put it further down the plot, and maybe next year. Gutted. So I've harvested the garlic and I'm actually a bit surprised. Some of them are okay and I'm pleased I've got some bulbs, but I will use them all. I was going to save some for next year, but because they've been affected, I think it's just easier if I just start again next year with some fresh bulbs further down the plot. So I made this little plan, a rustic plan, so that I could categorize, so I knew which ones were which when I harvest them. I put wires down at the start of the year, and so I know which area is what. Let me show you. So the Germador from Wilco's was actually the worst harvest, I think. They didn't bulb up. It might be obviously because it's early and they had the rust, but they just didn't bulb up. But yeah, never mind. Next was the early purple white. So considering, you know, I pulled them early, now there's signs of white rot here as well, which I'm not happy about. So yeah, definitely white rot in this bed, so I'll never be able to grow garlic in here again or any alliums. So, but overall, considering that the early white reds, whatever, early purples, they haven't done too bad. The next was the Solent white. So yeah, I'm happy with these. I've got a few that are quite a decent size, but I've also got a few that are tiny. Now my biggest surprise was the Albion white. These have come up gorgeous, so I will buy these next year. They are decent sized garlic bulbs and all of them are the same. That's not supposed to be there. All of these are decent size. I've left in the elephant garlic, but I also harvested the giant Cristo. Now some did come to that name, You know, they're pretty big and they're clear. They're tidy garlics, to be honest, but also some didn't, they stayed small. I'm going to leave the elephant garlic in for another month. I planted in Shire some more of them, and they also grew really well in the containers. In Shire I had Asda's organic, and again they didn't bulb up. The same in here, Asda's organic garlic. As you can see, they were spindly. Let's dig down a bit. And yeah, nothing. So if you buy shop bought, this is pretty much what you're going to get. Same from the Tesco one. Pull it up. They're tiny, you know. People say, oh, I'll buy the shop bought, it's cheaper. But you pretty much will get something like this. Tiny little cloves. So my last job of the day is to fit up a water pump for the pond, and I seen this on Amazon. It's a perfect size. I think it's about £16, and that maybe something around that area, and it's like an old bucket pump sort of thing, and I just thought it'd fit perfect in the corner, give the pond a bit of aeration, and you know, some trickling water down this area as well. So the plug, obviously, that the pump that came with it, obviously it's got a UK plug on it. I can't use that on this plot, obviously, because I haven't got, well, I have got plugs, but I mean, it's still only a, you know, 12 volt system. So I bought this 12 volt pump, and I think it does like 300 litres an hour, which is less than this, but it'll give it a nice trickle on the pump. And I'm going to connect this now to my solar panel system in the shed, run some cables through, and then we should have some water. You know, when it's nice and sunny, this will come on. But I will put it on a switch as well, because I don't want it constantly going on. I will only put it on when I'm at the plot. So I'm just going to screw this all together now. I've had to modify it because obviously this was meant to just pump back into the bucket. I want it to pour out the spout into the pond, and then the water from the pond keeps filling it up. So I'm not going to put too many screws in, but I want it to stay together. So don't need none of that. Now if I connect these now to this, it should work. So I fitted the pump, I've wired it to a switch in the shed, and I'm just going to go switch it on now and the pump will start working. You know what, just sitting here with that water trickling in the background, it's pure magic to me. There's no pattern to it either, it's just like a random trickle, and that's what I love about this pump. You know, it's just perfect. This is my favourite area. Before long, all these flowers are going to be this high, you know, and there's a mixture here, so it's my favourite area already. And I can already hear Jane Kelly looking at Mike and saying, you need to put a pond in with a pump in our allotment as well. So Jane, get Mike to sort you one out. It's pure heaven. You know, having the chickens is one thing, to know that there's something live on the plot, but to have some water trickling in the background is pure heaven. I know I'm just going to enjoy many hours just sat here relaxing, enjoying my paradise that I've created. You know, it's not just food for me, this is somewhere where I can focus my energy and get away from everything else on the outside world. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy this now, so take care guys, and I'll see you all again soon. We'll go then.